Okay. The 11th, 2022, and I'm going to do the roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos here. Councilmember Bunker.
Here.
Councilmember Shell Allen. She is here. I can see her. Councilmember McLeod
Here.
and Councilmember Clinton.
Here.
And I am Mayor Glaze. And if you'll please rise to say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and to the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And then if you'd remain standing, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord God, we come here tonight and we just ask for your assistance in governing this little city. Lord God, you have blessed us so much here and with this beautiful river and all of the natural resources. And we just ask for wisdom on how to use them and how to treat the people and how to govern the people. And we just ask for your assistance in all those things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay. We do have a public comment that was emailed in from Carlton Carl. And Carlton, would you like to read it yourself or would you like me to read it?
He's probably muted.
I think he's muted. Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Members of the Martindale City Council, staff, and my fellow citizens. In a time of too much bad news from the continuing threat of COVID-19 to the anniversary of the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, I have a little good news. For the past 8 years, I have worked on and off on a project to make voting more convenient for a number of City of Martindale voters. Inexplicitly, the City of Martindale and its voters had been split into two separate voting precincts. Precinct 301 west of Highway 80, for which the voting place was generally City Hall, the council meeting room, municipal court, or the tabernacle at Three Rivers Church, formerly Martindale Baptist Church. And precinct 302 east of Highway 80, for which the voting place was in Maxwell, well outside our city limits, even in Martindale municipal elections. This was confusing and inconvenient for the folks who live in precinct 302 east of Highway 80. I was never able to find out when or why the City of Martindale was split so unnecessarily. In any event, I worked with two previous mayors, Mayor Kim Smith and Mayor Robert DeMini, and several Caldwell County officials over several years. There are arcane rules about when and how precincts may be redrawn, and almost got the problem fixed a couple of times. Finally, with the help of a new friend, principally Martindale native Judge Raymond DeLeon, Precinct 4, Justice of the Peace, and Martindale Community Library Board member, who brought the matter to the attention of an unofficial election precinct advisory committee made up of former County Commissioner Alfredo Munez, David Gatz, Vanessa Gutierrez, Pat Daniel, Linda Hinkle, and David Tiscarat, as well as Kimber Daniel and Sarah Fuller from the Caldwell County Elections Office, who worked last year on redistricting Caldwell County after the 2020 census. All of the City of Martindale and all of its voters are now in a single voting precinct, Precinct 301. And all Martindale voters will be able to cast their ballots in future elections at a single voting location within the city of Martindale. I personally thank all those individuals for doing the right thing by Martindale. Thank you. Okay, that's, any other public comments? Okay, so we'll go into the reports, item number 4. And I had a few things that I wanted to make comments on. On the Blue Santa, which is actually a function of a citizen group that works in tandem with the police department, is what I've been told. There were comments on Facebook about, would there be a Blue Santa this year? And of course, we didn't have one, but hopefully if we can find a group that will work with the police department, we'll have one next year. Maybe it could even be the Martindale Library. Lockhart Street, the update on Lockhart Street, we talked to Donald Leclerc last week. And as many of you have noticed, he did some repairs on the road in preparation of doing the overlay. Unfortunately, the plant where he gets the asphalt, do I have that right? Was shut down for repairs for a month. So it's going to be February before that overlay gets done. So I just wanted to let you all know that.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
I did talk to him. He said that the process of the overlay should take about 2 to 3 days. So once they did the repairs, the overlay could be done. And so that will be a really fast process. So once they do start,
get it,
be 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
Completion of that.
The next thing I wanted to comment on was I just today got an email from Carol Deviney asking for feedback on the tree lighting. So whoever was there, I can send it out to all of the council members. Whoever was downtown, if you could give her some feedback, she'd really appreciate that. So don't send it to me, send it directly. Her email will be on there. Send it directly to the library. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the election. There's going to be 2 elections. And so it'll be just a little bit confusing if people are not used to when the elections are. So there's the primary election, which will be March 1st. And so the county's working on that right now. So that all of that information will be on Caldwell County website. And then there's our city election, which will be May 7th. And there's 3 people that are running, or 3, let me put
Places.
3 places that people will run for. So it could be that the people who are filling those places will rerun, or there could be new people. But you can pick up a packet now from Sylvia, but you can't turn it back in until January the 9th. That's the first day to turn it back in.
February the 18th.
January 19th is when you can turn it in, isn't it?
That's the earliest. That's when it opens.
That's when it opens. You can turn it back.
Deadline would be February the 18th.
And then the last day to turn it in is February 18th. I don't know what I said, but
It's close enough.
I got it wrong. Okay, so those are the elections. Okay, now the last thing that I wanted to report on Friday, we came in, Sylvia and I came in to finish the agenda. And the email came in that the contract was ready to be signed for the $6.7 million grant.
All right.
And so
Great
I
news.
DocuSigned some paper, sent it back to them. They have now sent that back to us. And so we'll have to have that on the agenda for next week. Next Tuesday for whatever we have to do with that. So that's my report. So we'll move on to Jared's.
All right. So first thing I want to update the council on is hiring activities. As you know, we've have a couple of vacancies that we're working to fill. One of the items we'll discuss later put it as a discussion item to talk about the police chief vacancy. In case there's any more discussion on it, we can talk about it there. We're working through a significant stack of resumes as we and doing some interviews, and we'll provide another further update later. Other hiring activities that we're working on is a director for building planning and development. We published that vacancy announcement a little bit before the holidays. We received 2 candidates, both look to have potential. I'll be working to speak with them in the next coming days, hopefully, and have, depending on where we're at, possibly have that position filled soon. Another item that we're working on is filling the utility clerk position. As you guys may know, Carmen Zuniga has offered to come back, and she's been helping us out for the last couple of months, and she's enjoying herself. And so I asked her if she was ready to go, and she said, no, I can stick around for a little bit longer. So that'll be nice for us. I have identified a potential backfill for her that would leverage existing staff, and I think that could work out pretty well. There's some budget impacts to that, but I think they'll be manageable. I have a further update kind of when that gets closer, that all works out. Basically, what that look like is take a court clerk, have that person work the court a few days of the week, work the front desk a few days of the week. But that has some budgetary impact because that turns a part-time position to a full-time position. And it crosses 2 different funds, utility fund, general fund. But with Carmen wanting to stay on a little bit longer, we can possibly delay that to somewhat and not have as big of a budget impact. Don't have exact start dates and end dates yet, but that's what it's looking like. The other position that we will need to fill this coming spring is the city clerk position. As Sylvia has indicated, she intends to retire unless she changed her mind in the last few weeks after the holidays, but I doubt that's the case. We're working to potentially, we want to give one of our current assistant city clerks who also does utilities an opportunity to get training, more additional training and experience in the role of the city clerk, so we could potentially hire within as an option. We'll publish that job announcement probably in the next month or so. My intention is that when we receive candidates, if we have somebody in-house that can fill that and has demonstrated their capacity and capability to fulfill that role, that would be a consideration that the mayor and the council could make when they appoint and confirm that position, because it is a council confirmed position. So that's where a lot of moving pieces on the staffing front. That's where we are with just about every position that we have. And I think that the chief's going to have some updates on the police department hiring during his report. And I think, yeah, that's all I had for tonight, unless there's something I'm forgetting there.
Are you getting somebody from the Job Corps?
As an intern?
Yeah, kind of help us with some kind of scanning and stuff.
Okay, yeah. So the question was, do we have somebody coming in from the Job Corps to help out with scanning and office administrative tasks? We, at one point, prior to COVID, we had an intern, and that person did an excellent job with us for the short period he was here. I think it's worth looking into again. I know when we reached out to the Job Corps, it's almost a year ago, 9 months ago, about possibly bringing someone back. They had not restarted that program. Maybe they have now. It's probably a good time to look in on it. But does that answer your question?
I had a question on the building and planning development. That's a part-time position?
Yes.
Okay, and then in the future, it sounds like we may have to discuss about the square footage that we have in this room here and how it appears to be, the cubicles are getting smaller or will be getting smaller. I mean, you're going to have another position and he's going to need, or he or her shall need desk space. Have you thought anything about our square footage and how we're going to accommodate these?
Yeah, what we have some extra space in the court, so I will have to talk with the judge about using his office or making dual use of that office space, either for the mayor or for myself, or both the mayor and myself to share a space, and then open up, I would essentially open up 2 cubicle spots if the mayor and I share a space. So it's something we've talked internally about, but it's not a settled plan yet to do that, but it's an option. The other thing that we've been doing is when this space isn't being used, we kind of use this as a hoteling space for when we have overflow. So oftentimes I'll find myself working in here, so I'm taking meetings or whatever else, and Adrian is as well. So we make do with the space we have. We could always use more, but I don't think that's going to be in the cards anytime soon. We have this area, we have the court's office, and we can make use of until then.
Is there a way to access the courts from this side without going to the inside, on the front or the back?
Yes. Yeah. The only thing that we'd have to be concerned about is the court records and files and what sort of physical security constraints we place on those. And I'm not sure of all those facility security aspects, whether it put it this way, it may be inappropriate if those files aren't under some sort of lock and key for the mayor and I to have access to the court room if it's not secure. So we'd have to look at making sure that the court stays secure if we're using that space. Either that means using only the back entrance and the door between the court, the judge's office and the court clerk's office is locked that we don't have a key for, or putting locks on all the file drawers or something like that. So that's why I said it's a little unsettled, but it's an option that we have potentially available to us.
Thank you for the explanation.
And we've been working hard interviewing. Believe me.
How many interviews have you done so far?
I think 10,
Well, good.
close to 10. We have another 3 this week.
Good.
And that will probably finish us out. There might be 1 or 2 candidates as we get into the next phase that we might check in on to see, if we need to check that.
Good.
We can, it's a discussion item later. That's why I didn't go too deep into it, but
Okay, so on number C, the financial report, Dwayne is sick. So we're gonna have to move his financials to next week. I did also want to note that we're gonna have the audit next week. Dwayne's got it all done. His goal, he said, is to get it done by the end of the year. And it kind of gets pushed into next year, so he's still striving for that. It's fun to watch him. Okay, and court report, Judge Fusco will be doing that one also next week because he's out of town. And that brings us to the police report.
All right. This past, in December, we had 20 calls for service. We took care of all those. Nothing major, not a reportable crime, no UCR reportable crime at all, just calls for service. Deer in a yard, angry deer, something like that, some other things like that, some calls for service. I think we wrote 16 traffic citations during that time. We've been working on the hiring of the chief. I'm doing 3 personal backgrounds right now for officers. We've got a very good investigator coming, just wanted to see the process today. She's looking at coming on as a reserve only, but she's a very good investigator, so to help us out, help the city out a lot. Working on a grant for CoLogic for a information or technology upgrade for the cars and for the police department. So that will work out good. I'm working on that grant right now, and also working on preparing the racial profiling report that's required by TPOL.
it's an annual thing.
The annual
Yeah.
racial profiling report.
It says here, Dwight.
Dwight resigned, Dwight resigned last month, and his last day was actually on Sunday. Came up and spoke with him, so he is done. I'm in the process of getting a new officer. Right now, I'm doing the backgrounds. We had one, couldn't fill a position with a position still filled, so.
Hey, in our last meeting, I asked about the decoys. Was there any information about if those have a decoy?
No, and Austin PD, they just put theirs out there. They run it out there and what they do with theirs is they'll run it out there at the beginning of shift and have someone, they're patrolling around it all the time and then taking it up. There's nothing that says it slows down or changes.
No,
their
there's
traffic.
really no studies or
No.
anything.
Nothing that's,
What's your professional opinion? Do you think they're effective?
we can put it out there, but there's not enough people to watch it continuously. So it would probably be ineffective once they figure it out. People go by ways and put them on ways and they realize, hey, there's no one in it. So I think that would happen on 80.
And then it could get destroyed.
Yeah, I just.
It
don't
might
think
be
we-
better
but
just to.
The best
sell
thing is
it.
try to sell those two, and so we can recoup the funds on that, and we got two good vehicles, and just make sure we get those. So the best thing to do is put those in the market and sell
Okay.
So the new vehicles is now working?
them. The new vehicles, yes, something working just now.
Oh, okay, good.
And it's registered, it's got plates, everything's,
Excellent.
I had a question. I
Yes,
wanted
ma'am.
to ask about, I thought there was an accident at Skyview where there was a fatality one morning where the helicopter actually landed in the road and had to starflight somebody out. Right in front of Skyview.
they didn't call me on that and tell me about that. If it was, if that wasn't a fatality here, they would have told me there's a fatality.
I think he just died this morning. I think he.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I was wondering because like, I know that accident, it caused a lot of traffic that was diverted. That's why the stop sign was taken down that one morning because I woke up to big, like 18-wheelers and all kinds of vehicles going by the house and cars and everything. So I know the road was closed down.
When was that?
I sent a message to, yep, and wanted to know information, like if our officers had worked that accident, was there a fatality? And I never got a response, so I was just wondering about the accident that happened here in Martin.
Where was the accident, Mike? Where
It was right in front of Skyview.
On Highway 80.
Okay.
I think a man hit a tree. My husband listens to the scanner thing, and it sounds like, there's a tree on a piece of property on Jack Mudd's property. And I guess it's been hit a couple of times. Maybe we should cut down that tree.
His
Put a reflector on it.
But,
Then his livestock would get hit.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
put a reflector on it.
But we did not, we were not involved in that one.
Are we,
Probably the highway patrol, the fatality, highway patrol probably came and worked it. They didn't call us and highway patrol worked the fatality.
Yeah.
are we going to be giving the citizens an update then on our in police enforcement or lack thereof? I know some people will inquire and say, well, we don't know enough about what goes on at the meetings, or, I mean, I know they would still contact Caldwell County Sheriff.
That's our dispatch center, yes, sir.
So that would be just the route that someone would, so the Martindale Police phone number gets directed automatically to 911?
No,
Or
they need to call Caldwell County Sheriff's Office or 911. There's no reason they can call Martindale Police, but it's not manned 24/7. It wouldn't be manned 24/7 if we had 24/7 with our officers to be out patrolling.
Right.
Then that phone's not answered like up here or anybody.
Well, it would save someone time. I mean, if they felt like they thought that they could call the police department and then it would get nowhere, or it would ring 5 times, then they would have to call the sheriff. I mean, do we want to?
No, our citizens have always been directed to the Martindale Police number. It's been, do not call the Martindale Police number.
Call
You
911.
call 911 if it's an emergency. If it's non-emergency, then you call Caldwell County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
But basically, the Martindale Police Department phone number, that's not a number to call for emergencies or for stuff going on in Martindale. They dispatch them from the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office.
From
Okay.
dispatch.
Dispatch, okay. Okay, thank you.
So I've shown this before, but want to share it again. The number to call, this is our Martindale homepage. The number to call is right here, just under where you pay your utility bill. That's the number to call for the non-emergency dispatch.
And then if it's emergency, it's
911.
911. Okay. Do we have that on the city page?
This is the
This
city
is-
page.
I mean, but
This is the homepage.
Oh, 911 if it is an emergency.
We can add that if you think it's needed.
Pretty
I think most people
Would know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for showing me.
All right.
Okay.
Since you, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think since we were on there, I think it still shows Harry as police chief on there.
No,
Okay.
that's been taken off.
We'll correct it.
Yeah, I think he's still listed in some areas.
Oh, is he?
I think Adrian fixed that.
I think I just.
We've talked to him a couple of times. Okay, we'll have to double check it. You know, once you're in the office all the time, you don't look at the website as much. Okay, so boards and commission reports. Historic Commission was Craig Foster, and I don't see him online. They have done a certificate of appropriateness, I know. I can't remember now off the top of my head what it was for.
It was for a carport. I think it's.
Oh, that's right,
John
John Hahn.
Hahn's house.
Do you know if they approved it?
I don't know. No, I missed the meeting. I saw it though.
So I'll have to ask him for
I
that.
think they did approve it. Randy too.
And then the parks, do you have anything to report on?
A little bit, yes. First off, I want to thank Sonia Villalobos and Carlton Carl for applying for a grant with LCRA and Bluebonnet. It was $1,000 grant to improve certain aspects of the city or city life. And so Sonia and I discussed it, and we thought, well, it'd be good if we could put a bid in to purchase some trees for Allen Bates Park. I got a bid from Paradise Palms for roughly about $955 for some 4 30-gallon oak trees, 2 live oak, a chinkapin oak, and a Shumard red oak. It seemed like the powers of LCRA approved the grant as it was written. And so we met with them, Sonia, Carlton, myself, and 2 members of the LCRA. So we met with them on Friday at 10 o'clock at Allen Bates Park. It looks like a 99% sure thing. We'll find out more next month. But we did plan to set a day aside the first week of April to plant the trees in the park. We have to do certain things in preparation, like maybe get Sean McDonald to help us with his backhoe to dig the holes. We're going to provide some water, some light refreshments. I'm going to bring a hose. They also want to mulch around all the trees. And so we're going to try and talk to a landscaper to see if they have some extra bark mulch. So that's exciting.
How much is this grant?
$1,000. And so they're going to bring 10 people themselves to achieve the work. We also talked a little bit about the electrical lights at Allen Bates Park. So we may look at those prior, and then maybe if we can get a ladder, we might try and fix those 2 lights at the park. Also, we're looking at improvements in phase 1 to make a simple little road and some parking spaces there. It's just in the planning stage, but we're working on that. And that's about all I can think of so far in the parks.
Quick question, could you use that mulch just on the gravel pit for those? Is it really not that?
No, that's a little large.
Too
It's
large.
not small mulch, and it's been sitting there a while, so I'm sure it's got ants all in it and all
I think
that
it just
stuff.
needs to be spread out over there.
Yeah, and the Allen Bates Park was just mowed. Phase 1 was just mowed. It looks really good. So I appreciate you working with Tommy on that. And the freeze has killed some of the things, but it may just be where the foliage is burnt. But the olive tree at Guardiola Park looks a little frosty. But other than that, everything's fine in the parks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike, do you have anything for planning and zoning?
I've been basically out. I've had COVID. I'm not contagious anymore, but I was kind of down for 15 days or so. So, but no, nothing to report. Just,
Since we're on planning and zoning, I wanted to ask, I received an email from a resident,
today.
yes, asking, he's just stating that he hasn't gotten any feedback or any answers from the city. I can't remember the exact dates, but since I know that we've all gotten the emails, I just wanted to know, so we all know who it is. Like, has work been done? Is that
Right.
gonna?
Yeah,
I saw that email
Yeah.
today.
yeah. He sometimes he wants an answer faster than you can get it to him. And Jared's had trouble with daycare this week. So we haven't gotten back to him, but we will.
Okay.
We've been working with him
That came in this morning?
This afternoon.
this afternoon.
Pretty late.
That he sent it to everybody on city council.
I might have been left off that. Okay. I'll catch a copy from email later.
Okay, the consent items, the accounts payable will have to move to next week because Dwayne is not here. And there is a set of minutes in your packet. If anyone's had time to read those.
I move that we accept the December 7th minutes.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving these minutes, please say aye.
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 Okay, the motion carries. Okay, number 7
Lisa
is,
texted me, said aye.
Unanimous.
oh, okay, thank you. Number 7 is setting a date for the citywide cleanup. We've already had an email that came in that when they're asking when the next one is gonna be, it would be good to set the date so that we can start advertising.
Now, I thought we had kind of decided that we weren't going to do citywide cleanups because we got a roadside pickup, 3 or 4 times a year per person.
No, I don't think we decided that. We get that with
was
our
part of the-
contract.
Oh,
It comes
really?
with
I
our contract.
thought that was one of the things that we weren't going to do anymore.
I think it was during the COVID
Okay.
period, just trying to limit exposure before people had an opportunity to get
I thought
vaccinated.
that was before the COVID thing, that's what we agreed on in the contract
No, no.
with them.
no.
We're still doing citywide
We
twice a
still-
year.
We still.
And
once
everybody's
a year.
getting,
Once a year.
oh, once a year.
If we do it a second time, we have to pay for it.
Oh, okay. So that's what it was.
So this is
That's where my
part of the
confusion-
contract.
Okay.
And I didn't do any pre-work. I haven't done this before, so I didn't call to see what days were available.
If we look at some dates that are 6 to 8 weeks out at least, they're pretty accommodating for the most part, as long as we give them enough lead time. So if the council wants to, set a date for April or May or whatever you think would work best, that would give us plenty of time to.
We did it in April last year.
April's probably cooler. May starts to get a little hot.
And May has the elections.
Okay, I'm in favor of April, if we're gonna do it. I don't know about everybody else.
They do have that, Big River cleanup first Saturday of March. I don't know if that would be, coincide to do that schedule, because they do, well, a lot of times the county.
River cleanup in March?
Yeah, but a lot of times, first Saturday of March, they usually have the dump over there at the Spencer's. I don't know if we could coordinate that. I guess our riverfront's probably pretty clean. But,
That's the 5th.
It would make some sense to coordinate with that, especially if they haven't coordinated a way
You don't-
to dispose of. Granted, when we do our cleanups, we're limited from doing tires and other sorts of items. So depending on what they pull out of that river, not all of
we got
it.
a lot of tires.
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So it wouldn't necessarily be a perfect match, but I think if you're trying to get a volunteerism spring cleaning across the city, it makes sense to advertise them both together. People are, if their yards are already clean and their house is already clean, and they want to come help clean the river or volunteer and help people offload their stuff into the dumpsters. And
Let me coordinate with the TRPA. I'll ask them if that would, but their cleanup usually ends in the late afternoon and start in the morning, and they finish up in the evening. I'll ask if we could have it'd have to be, they couldn't really do it Saturday because, the time, they're still picking up stuff on the river in the morning.
Yeah, but our cleanup is usually done by
I don't,
noon or 1.
Because we get fall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could maybe have it a week later and they have residue that they can leave, or do we want to do that?
It's something to think about.
But
Okay.
see what they
I mean,
have.
if they do it first Saturday of March, we could do the second Saturday, and therefore we could go ahead and put that debris into the dumpsters if they need. If they
Yeah, as long as it complies. Yeah.
no tires, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna work on it.
Yeah, I'll contact
I
them.
think, last year, well, we had the cleanup, and then after we had the cleanup, we had a pipe day.
Yeah.
But necessarily, we don't have to have pipe day on the same day of the cleanup. I know that I spoke to Sam, and whenever we spoke to LCRA, after we do the park is whenever I want to do a park day to kind of showcase the park and to coordinate with the library to have pipe day, to show the beautification project that happened at the park. So we don't have to have it at the same time.
We could make a big old event of it. We could get a grill out and start grilling burgers and
Hot dogs.
Mhm.
hot dogs.
Well,
Make it a big old celebration.
should we set a date?
I think we'll,
Let me get with TRPA.
And it depends, like, when's Easter, like, what day does Easter fall on this year? If it's in April, because you have Good Friday.
It's April
and you have-
18th, 17th.
April 17th is Easter.
And Easter Monday, the 18th. So I guess that might be a holiday. I don't know.
Well, the
Friday
whole,
will
it's
be-
Holy Week, the whole week.
That Friday will be a holiday.
Oh, the 15th?
Oh,
Yeah, Good Friday, yeah.
So maybe we do want to back it up into March.
For example, that river cleanup would be the first Saturday, which is the 5th of March, so they could put their debris there on the 5th, and then 12th, we could have the cleanup in March, but I'll confirm.
Don't they usually have a dumpster at Spencer's?
They do sometimes, yes, they do. I'll ask if they need any assistance, like a lot of times they will put stuff there at Spencer's, they'll be the lead. I don't know what this year they're gonna have it this year or not. I'll confirm.
Mm.
there we go. No, I'm serious. That'd be fun. Shut down Highway 80.
Have you ever done the Martindale Triathlon? That's what you did. Martindale Triathlon.
There's one?
Oh, yeah.
Martindale
No way.
Triathlon.
Yes.
The runs,
Swim.
canoe,
And bike.
and
Oh,
bicycle.
Can you,
I did the very first one, 1978.
Did you win it?
No, I did, my best, I think it was in 92, I came in second.
No way.
Yeah.
Real quick, Mayor, we have Mr. Olds on who's available to make the river board report if we want to go back to that item.
Yes. Mr. Olds?
Charlie?
Charlie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, I guess Joy isn't on to make a report, but we had a couple of motions in our last River Advisory meeting, and that was in November. We didn't have one in December. But we had a
Okay.
motion that the city of Martindale adopt a dark sky lighting ordinance similar to the city of Blanco ordinance that looks pretty good and has been already vetted by the city of Blanco. So that was one motion. I don't know if Joy had sent
Yes,
you a
she
letter.
did.
Talked about it last week.
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
send-
Okay, then the second motion was the city council to create and adopt a tree and brush clearing ordinance along the river. And that has to do with some of the clearing that's been taking place lately. But I think that would be a good recommendation for the city. We also have an ongoing request that the police spot check litter and disposable container infractions along the river at certain spots. Now, lately it's been winter time and it's not a big deal, but I think as spring and summer come around, this is something that I think the river committee would like a response from the city on what they want to do in terms of monitoring the no disposable container ordinance.
That's a good suggestion.
The last, go ahead.
But also, I guess we talked about earlier, that sign is got washed away, the disposable container ordinance sign there on the low water bridge.
Right, right. And we have an extra sign, and I haven't talked to Steve Fonville yet, and maybe put it up a little bit higher out of
Yeah.
the floodway.
I agree, a little higher would be better.
But I will do that. I haven't talked to Steve yet to kind of ask him his opinion, maybe up on the river or the water company's property.
Okay.
Where was that sign washed away?
It's right by the low water bridge. The last rise we had, it got washed away. It's right next to the bridge. You know what, if you need to, we can, Ann Horn, we could possibly put them on her property if we need
Okay.
a little bit high.
The last thing our advisory board membership cycle is starting this month, January 2021. And let's see, we have 1, 2, 3 people that are starting in 2021 for 2-year terms. But I had heard some suggestions that maybe we could combine the Parks Advisory Board and the River Advisory Board. So something to think about.
Do you think that's a good idea?
I think they kind of overlap.
Okay. Maybe, can you put that on the agenda to talk to the parks
Mhm.
people?
What do you think about that, Sam Quinn? Combine the two, our council?
Combining the two.
Advisory to the combine the river to the parks, having one advisory.
The parks are down one person right now.
We probably shouldn't deliberate on this.
Oh, we should?
Yeah.
Okay, let's change the subject.
That should be,
Okay.
maybe that should be
We're off subject. Let's stop.
Thank
an
you.
agenda.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a comment about the citywide cleanup. I noticed the last time we had it that a lot of people brought bags of leaves. There was a lot of leaves and a lot of branches. And then when they started to bring the branches and put it in the dumpsters, it was filling up the dumpsters with branches. Either we need to have a bring your bags of leaves and then just have a big pile of leaves, or have that as an organic drop-off thing as well? Because we do not have, as other municipalities have, organic or green capacities with our Texas disposal system, like having a green rolling trash can. But I'm just saying that I noticed there was a lot of leaves and branches that were brought on that bulky item pickup day, and we need to clarify to either say, don't bring it, or you can bring it and it won't be put in the dumpsters, but put and made like a big mulch pile or something.
You know,
We got plenty of mulch piles out in that field already from years past
I
that
know, I
have
think
yet
they
to
need to be
decompose.
plowed up.
I printed this off our website and it says no brush
Mhm.
Okay,
and no electronics like TVs, computers, no pesticides, no oil drums, barrels, paint, solvents, no
No
chemicals.
poisons.
Yeah, no poisons.
okay.
And it
And no
says
tires.
must show proof of Martindale residence. And this is on our website, because I
Yeah.
know when we were checking people in, there seemed to be a question of if they were in our ETJ, was that okay? So we were kind of letting people through. But since this is on our website, I think we should go by
But
it.
it says Martindale resident. As long as their driver's license say Martindale, then they can go.
But that doesn't mean
I think
that
they
you
had to show
live,
a proof of a bill.
that doesn't mean you live inside the city limits of
So
Martindale.
that needs to be clarified.
Must show proof of Martindale residency. So that would mean that you live inside the city limits.
And we should, to Councilman Revolto's point, we probably should clarify what that means.
Because like my daughter has a Martindale address, but she lives
Yeah.
in the other county.
But you would
But
still
she's
think
not
that
in
if
the
it's,
city limits.
yeah, but as he was saying, I think we should clarify that, because if someone might just say that, well, it says Martindale on my driver's license,
Yeah,
so.
when it says Martindale residency, that means where you reside. If that means you're a utility customer of the city of Martindale, then it would clarify, but the way that it is there means that if you're a resident of Martindale. Therefore, if your driver's license say Martindale, Texas, where does it say you reside?
Doesn't
In
necessarily
Martindale.
What we'll do is we'll put Willy
If
Wonka
you
golden
get
tickets in
trash,
everybody's
you get
bill.
city
They can
right.
come up with their golden ticket.
You don't get trash from TDS via San Martindale, and you can't do that.
Yeah, so just
Pickup.
make
Yeah,
it more
city,
stringent.
it says you city utility bill.
The utility bill.
Right.
No utility bill.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so just to clarify,
Mhm.
they do have to be inside the city limits.
Right.
Okay, Sharon, on number 8, did you have any more on the police?
Yeah, I want to quickly give an update on where we're at in terms of schedule, because we were behind at one point in terms of getting, our goal, as we set out, was to have an appointment confirmation that first week of April. And so at one point we were behind schedule. We're catching up. Our baseline was to complete all initial telephone interviews by December 20th, right before the holidays. That spilled over. We should be able to complete them by this Friday. After that, the panel, the mayor, basically, she's the final say on this stuff, but the panel will identify the 5 or so finalists to be presented to the city council. Our baseline schedule, we're looking to do that by February 28th to complete those in-person interviews with finalists. That might slip slightly. We'll try to make sure that happens within February. If we have people who are outside of the local commuting area and there's travel involved and we're going to bring them in, there's probably some coordination and some fair warning in advance scheduling for that. So it's not like, hey, can you come in on Tuesday? It's probably, hey, 2 weeks from now, would you make the trip? So by next week, we'll hopefully be in a place where we can at least identify those initial finalists. we'll contact them and we're going to ask them for training certificates, references, and we'll go through, checking social media and any publicly discoverable Google sort of background checks on those initial 5. If somebody falls out, then, if we've identified some alternates, they'll be kind of brought in. Want to have that done before we bring them to council. So just give you, that's why February 28th is going to be a little bit of a stretch, because that's going to be some significant work that has to get done to go through all that, even if it's just 5 candidates.
How many people have applied?
These are all the applications we've received. We've received nearly 60 applications.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been really good. We've gotten a lot of good turnout. I think we've been able to identify, I think by the end of this, we'll have interviewed somewhere between 12 and 15 candidates.
Great.
For the initial interviews, and we'll take that down to 5. And then, but yeah, we've got a lot of good candidates. This has been, I'm glad that we have this many applying, because it helps that cream rise to the top. And I think we're going to get some,
Yeah, it is good.
some good people.
On the interview panel?
So the interview panel right now is the mayor, myself, our interim police chief, Tommy Ward, and Robert Moreno, who's our citizen participant in the panel. And he's been participating. We started, our first interview was, I think, December 17th or thereabout. So we've been working on it for about the last month. Took a little break with the holidays, but we're back at it. So he's been a welcome addition and a great perspective to have. So kudos to him. I would like to see, some recognition for him when this is over for his volunteer efforts that he's done in this. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. And that will put us, if we can get back on schedule or close to it, complete the in-person interviews that last week of February, early part of March, and then we'll schedule a, meet the candidate social event for sometime later in the month of March with the final 2. And then hopefully we'll be back on track for April. So that's where we're at with schedule. I want to kind of dive deeper into that, see if you have any questions or if there's any discussions about the next steps or, things. So any questions? All right.
I just wanted to comment that Tommy's presence has been very valuable. So, with all the background that he has, so that's great.
Thank you.
Can I say something here?
Yeah.
Sure. Some of the stuff that Mr. Moreno's brought to the table, he's asked excellent questions and filtering through some of these people and some of these applicants. He's been really, really good on the board. And hopefully by the time we get a new chief, I'll have a full complement of officers to work with them. Also, I didn't mention earlier, the comps grant is coming back around, so we're ready to start reapplying, we're preparing to apply for that again as well.
Oh, great.
How many desks are there in the police room? How many people does that
It
accommodate?
doesn't matter because they're not going to be sitting in there anyway, so.
Yeah,
I
well,
like that.
but they want to
You're
come
always
in
out
and
in the
get
field.
coffee or something,
We have, there's space enough if we needed to. There's one workstation in addition to the police chief's workstation to do their reports and things that they need to do when they have paperwork to do. If we needed to, we could also have a second workstation in there, but before we need a second workstation, we probably need to be on 24-hour scheduling. And I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
Just fine. How it is. Just need to update computers and so forth.
Yeah.
And that'll work perfect.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, and that brings us to number 9. We're going to break and have anybody who's not on city council leave, and then we're gonna reconvene into an executive session.
So what we will do is, if we can, because I know that it's been a concern, after executive session, when we go back into a public forum, I will reopen this meeting. And so if people are interested in what's reported out, I know that's been an issue that's been noticed in the past. So we'll reopen our public session, but for now, we're dropping off and so does everybody else too.
So do we have to adjourn this meeting?
Yes, we'll adjourn this
So-
meeting.
We don't actually adjourn this.
No, you just, say, we just break.
Just break? Okay.
How long is the break?
And
5
then you
minutes?
just say when you're gonna open it.
Are we gonna wait? Is Lisa gonna be coming down?
I don't, did she just have surgery? Can we ask
7:40.
Lisa?
She talked to me before. I think she said she needs about 10 to 15 to get down here, so about 7:40.
Okay, 7:40.
All
All
right.
right. So,
You have time for a secret.
okay, thank you.
What is our Wi-Fi password? Because
Oh.
the Great Library didn't,
Here.
if one for Martindale or Martindale Guest.
This one.
Albert?
Hey, for those who stayed with us, we're about to reconvene this meeting.
Okay, it's 8:56 on January 11th. We're back from executive session and we're going to reconvene this meeting. And we do have an action to what we had discussed. Oh, I'm sorry.
If there's a motion to be made, we need to ask for it.
Yes, and if there's motion made.
So I would like to make a motion to allow the city to enter into mediation.
Okay, Sonia made a motion and Lisa seconded the motion. And we're gonna ask individually if you approve.
Is there any discussion first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mike, how do you vote?
Against arbitration.
Jan,
For,
Sam,
For mediation.
and Sonia is for it because she made the motion, and Lisa is for it. So the motion carries. The last thing on here are future items. The only thing I added to the list was that we are going to put the grant, the GLOW grant on the agenda next week. And also the audit is next week. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I'd like to put on some discussion about speed bumps on Main Street. And possible action,
And what?
possible action.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, is there anything else to add to future items?
As we discuss future items, there's a couple of them on here that have been on here for a while. And we've had a fairly busy calendar. I know we've also talked about other ordinances to get through. In terms of priority or timing, when would the council like to hold that hotel motel tax workshop? If we're doing a workshop that's likely going to be during the daytime, preferably either a Monday or a Saturday, is there still a desire to do that? And if so, is there a time frame where we kind of want to do that? And same with the zoning workshop that we have coming up.
On the hotel thing, is that for us to decide how to spend the money or how to wrangle in more people into the?
All the above. So basically, it would be, the agenda would likely include a review of how the taxes are and should be collected, and the procedures regarding that, whether that needs to be clarified in the administrative policy or ordinance. The discussion about how those taxes are then used, and then probably would want to, if they're available, if he is available, Craig Foster, who has advised the mayor and I on some, I think, pretty good guidance regarding how to develop a marketing strategy and those things, and what considerations to make when you're looking to do advertising. And there's probably another one to talk regarding, some sort of encouraging the development of a short-term rental association or something within the city that could also provide a resource outside of the city that we could, try to, as much as we can, help get off the ground. So the agenda would be a pretty full agenda. It's probably about 4 or 5 hours, I would think, to get through.
Even reviewing the ordinance too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about, I kind of would like to consider waiting until after the election.
That's
I know.
And then what about the new hires? Would that be something that they would also be Also doing, so I
Yeah,
would
they'd be
suggest that, you know,
definitely involved with.
after whoever is done for hiring in that position.
Okay.
That way they're on board and we're not doing something, you know, that way whoever's in that position can
Give them time to get up to
Yes.
speed.
do that as
So,
well.
so probably at that point, March, April would probably be the earliest, then we'd probably look
I
to
would
do
say
it.
we discuss it after we hire whoever's gonna be in
Okay.
that position.
Okay. I agree. Okay.
So we're gonna put that on hold.
Yes, hold
No
until
worries.
after,
And then probably the same then with the zoning, waiting for that
Yes.
person to come in. Okay.
I wanted to add commissions and advisory board ordinance. I wanted to look at those,
Oh, yeah.
get those straightened
Do
out.
Yes.
you want to do that under a workshop?
I don't know, I just wanted to add it to the list.
Okay.
yeah, I think that'd be something that we can come up.
Is that
With
what the
some good
Parks Ordinance
documentation about what
93 was
needs to be
about?
done.
That one's been on the agenda for a while.
Which one?
And a review of the park ordinance.
Well, and even Mayor Devaney had those on there because he was trying to get the dates and everything straightened out as far as.
Was that
The
the
park
change that we're talking? I didn't know if there's some other, park rules or some other change that we're considering under chapter 93. I lost track of it.
I have to go back and read chapter
I
9.
think it was just the boards and memberships.
I think we accepted all the ordinances, but I don't know if we were trying to include, because we were saying about the
His big thing is the
camping
master plan.
you were changing the zoning or something of
Yeah,
the
that would-
park plan.
But it'd be a zoning, that'd be in the zoning workshop.
Not the zoning per se, but the use of it. Maybe.
He was big about the master plan,
Yeah,
Vinny was, so.
yeah.
I'm just thinking of when the board.
He's on, we could ask him.
I think if we, maybe that's what we can do.
Yeah.
There,
And
one of the things I recall was a
Working on
desire
that.
of, every other meeting, let's pull out an ordinance and scrub it. Given the other activities we're working on, that's a little bit of a tough thing to do administratively unless a council member has proposed changes that they want to bring to the rest of council.
Mhm.
But for Kent and I and the mayor and, or each of you individually to develop that,
And we
it
need to be
takes a little bit
given
of guesswork.
homework.
Then part of the reason that it hasn't come up is I'm not really sure, so other than the advisory board kind of lingering issue, what that would possibly be.
I got some ideas for the
For the,
commissions.
for the,
and
for,
boards.
yeah,
Yeah, to,
so maybe what we
to make
do,
it clear about meetings so that they're not so haphazard. To maybe combine the parks and the river and also, when they do have meetings to have them posted properly.
so would that replace this future agenda item then for 93, something more like what you're discussing? Because that's going to affect more than just an
Oh,
ordinance
yeah.
review.
I don't know what that 93 is.
Because that's been
Probably
lingering for a while.
review automobile parking, city limits,
On
warrant roundup.
the warrant roundup, I spoke with our court clerk briefly about the warrant roundup idea. And she'd be available to come in and make a short presentation to council about how warrant roundups work, what's involved with them, what they should be considered and not considered, appropriate use of a warrant roundup, the scheduling and those things.
And they've already done it for this year, right?
Well,
And that's-
warrant roundups
That's a long time.
is typically involves us collaborating, coordinating with another law enforcement agency that's
Oh,
doing
okay.
one beyond just ourselves. Unless we're doing warrants within the city limits, but
They would,
yeah,
join
they
up with Austin.
join up with
Austin
Austin
and
and others. So there's a lot of considerations. It is kind of put on here, a warrant roundup as let's follow up on, it came out of a conversation regarding a court report and the court, the proceeds from collecting fines. And so I think it'd be useful to have a discussion with the judge and with the court clerk on how the appropriate way of viewing warrant roundup would be. The earliest we could probably have that discussion is February. Do we want that on the February agenda, or do we want to do it some point after? I'm just trying to clean up these
Yeah.
long-standing.
I'm sure that
But I think like now we've kind of like each one gotten to a little bit of discussion, which is
Yeah.
understandable, but I think like the warrant roundup, I mean, wouldn't the judge know like how to do that? Like, wouldn't that be a discussion?
He would be able to inform me, but if he wanted, separate from his court report, if you wanted a presentation and to discuss warrant roundups, that would be something we put on like a discussion item on the agenda, but we haven't to this point. And I just kind of want to get a sense of priority and how soon do we want to have that conversation? Because
How many meetings are we gonna have to have?
Probably just-
Hire the new.
hire the new what?
New, police chief.
So
We're gonna have to have meetings for that.
yeah, when we do the in-person interviews, that's at least 5 meetings. Most likely, maybe 4, maybe 6, but I think a good planning idea is probably 5.
When do we want to make an adoption of the dark sky thing?
Well, that's kind of why we have a lot of this future agenda item list has kind of been a repository of good ideas. And I kind of want to know when are
Yeah,
these good
what's
ideas
a
coming
higher
on the
priority?
calendar?
right now, I don't see the warrant roundup as a high priority.
Okay,
And you could cross off the crosswalk murals. I'll do some more research on that.
Okay.
That doesn't have to be on there.
The, also the motion that the River Committee asked about the tree and brush clearing or ordinance, I think that only pertained to tree and brush clearing in the floodway.
yes.
But even so, I mean, even with the large
That's not on
piece of,
this list.
well, that's what Charlie said he wanted
Oh,
us to make.
that's right. Okay.
But even from what I'm seeing now on the clearing, I mean, I'm sure if someone buys a big piece of property that they can clear and clean around the buildings and all that as they want. But I'm seeing a lot of clearing being done over there. I'm seeing small roof
Yeah, well,
lines being demolished and stuff. And I don't even know if they've come to us for a permit for any of those things. I'm seeing a road being made across the big field to the house. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on the weekend that we do not see. That's
So what's
going
the
on up
future
there.
agenda item and all that? Is there 2, 1, 2? Is it an update on the Lanzola
I
development?
think we need to really
Okay.
question them and say, what are you doing? What?
We've had conversations with them. I can present council again in a administrative report again on what's going on there. And then you mentioned brush clearing ordinance. Are you
Langzola, they're clearing all around the buildings.
it's the developer who bought the land.
The
That's near
Conrad.
the-
Over there
property, yeah.
by Skull,
Yes.
the low
yes.
water. Oh, okay, yeah.
And you
Yeah,
talked
we
about
haven't even
the,
discussed that.
you talked
mean,
about
that-
I had a administrator's report on it, I think in December, but we can bring it up again
Yeah.
in the future.
I've seen
agenda.
dumpsters there, I've seen bulldozers, I've
So-
seen skid steers.
So what's the agenda
That would
item?
be in planning and
Yeah.
zoning though, wouldn't it?
I could be.
Yeah, that would be
I
in
don't-
planning and
I don't
Would you
zoning.
think
say,
they're
Lisa?
doing any damage, though.
Yeah, we're discussing it. Let's
Yeah,
just
let's
leave it
move
on the
on.
agenda.
So I'm trying to figure out what the agenda item is.
Well,
So I can prepare, because we're going through a lot of police
What-
chief stuff right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work being done, a lot of hiring decisions coming up. And I want to make sure I'm being responsive to city council and getting the ordinance that, we've passed a couple ordinances recently. Dark sky, heard the brush clearing. We've had some workshops lingering. We've had this parks on the list for a while. I'm asking councils to provide some direction to help us kind of map out a calendar of, all right, in March, I need to have this ordinance ready, the golf carts ordinance, this ordinance ready for review and discussion. And that way, as Sylvia starts planning out, February, March, April, May, we can start getting a little bit of ahead of our agendas a little
Can't we
bit.
do some of that? No.
Gladly.
uh,
Yeah, if you want to take an ordinance and write an ordinance and present it to council.
Dark sky, Blanco.
Yeah, we have a pretty good, we have a good start draft to use for that. We have a pretty good start draft on the golf cart. So, but it's a matter of spending time with it and getting it ready. I got the notes from the council at the last minute. It just, yes.
If I may say something in regards to decisions as to what is to be on the agenda, scheduling and timing. Having the notion or consideration of what items are going to be income generating. What items are going to be, gonna take time away, you know, if you're gonna volunteer to do the ordinance and then into versus taking staff time. I think all of those things need to be put into consideration. And I'll just finish it with the work, the warrant roundup and go to those items. Are the generating items that have been on the agenda for a really long time.
Yeah, I have.
And I think as we go into this grant, it's gonna start taking more of our time.
A lot. Thankfully, we have a grant administrator and we have an engineer, and it'll take more time than ours, but that's going to be that's probably what will take the most of your time there, frankly. As a
And the
little bit of
meetings,
cost.
well, hire the police chief.
Yeah, Jer- that's-
the
that's
Do you
the
want
problem.
me to try to
That's-
contact
I
people
agree with
about
you 100%, but that's
the committees
our main
and
focus.
boards and find out
Biggest
when
point. We have to get somebody.
everybody's time is supposed to be coming up? I'll make phone calls and write up some kind of documentation on that.
Okay. We'll
Okay.
talk about it.
All right,
So what if you do,
so
the workshop would be the hotel motel? That to me would include also this in there.
yes, yeah,
Those would be two, that would be all combined one workshop.
yeah.
Then you were gonna go, then you were saying hiring, you said hiring this zoning after the hiring. So wouldn't this, all of this be included in here?
Partially. So the discussion I'm having with Sylvia is the workshops, the hotel motel tax and the billboard advertisement funded. Those items 1 and 2 on the future agenda item, those would be combined in the same workshop.
That'll help you
Yeah.
there.
So that gives me a good idea that if we want to get that director, building, planning and development in place for those discussions, that's probably March, April then. And then zoning, same thing. And these others, we'll just try to work them in as we can.
What was the first thing?
The hotel motel, basically hotel tax workshop and the ordinance workshop, zoning ordinance workshop.
I feel like if we just got started a little bit earlier, that we would be able to get a little bit more done without it being, kind of late. Like, I mean, I know we all work and stuff, but like, I could get here like at 5:30, if we just needed to for the next couple of meetings to get some extra work done or to do whatever, to come in at 5:30, because I think sometimes they do, all of the stuff that we're discussing now, they do that before the meeting and do their homework and talk about it and planning and doing all that. So just
So-
think about it.
Come
Like an
in at
example,
5:30
like
to prep and then
Yes.
start the meeting
And
at
then-
6:30.
Yes. And then you have your stuff done already, rather than, you finish some stuff up first and then you can pass it in the meetings. Cause I think, we always kind of get started so late that, I'm already antsy right now.
I know,
Can
me
you make a
too.
motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And who seconds it?
Well, did we decide what to put
Who
on
made
the
the
agenda
motion?
stuff?
Oh, okay, I second.
All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did it.
Oh.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on.